And join me in thinking about rethinking user adoption with Mr. Ryan Brubaker.
Hi. Thanks for inviting me to come speak this evening. While I was eating dinner, I was thinking about the fact that I'm essentially a substitute teacher, and I was thinking about how unruly the classes get when you have a sub. So, no spitwads, please. Hopefully you'll enjoy this this topic as much as I do, or at least I'll communicate it in a way that you'll enjoy it. So, rethinking user adoption. This is just about my company. I work for Allegiant. We are an IT consulting firm. We do a smattering of things as listed here, all things related to IT consulting. My group, we're actually divided up into 3 practice areas. My practice area is called Platform Solutions. And so we implement platforms like SharePoint and Microsoft Dynamics CRM, content management systems like Sitefinity and WordPress and that kind of thing. And then we build on top of it. So that's where the Platform Solutions comes from. But that's enough about Allegiant. This is me. And I'll have this slide again later and I have a stack of cards up here, so if anybody wants to talk to me about this topic later, I'd love to talk to you about it, and I'll give you a card too, so if you want to contact me. So I've always been a huge fan of how people think, how people behave, and how people act based on their personality type and their bent. And so I was really excited when Allegiant decided we were going to start using a personality profiling tool. And several of us from the management team were picked to actually go become certified analysts. And the tool that we picked was called Predictive Index. And so many of you may have heard of Predictive Index, and I'm going to talk about it and a couple of others just briefly. But Predictive Index breaks things down into 4 different drives. And one of those drives is the drive for dominance. And so I'm sitting in this class because I've been chosen to be a certified predictive index analyst. And I go to this 3-day class so I can get my certification, and I'm loving this stuff because I've always been a student of personality. And the instructor starts to tell this story when we're talking about the dominance criteria. And he was explaining that somebody who is very high on the dominance scale is very comfortable with conflict. And not only are they comfortable with conflict, but they're also at times will say things to kind of create conflict, and in their mind they don't even realize they're doing it because they're so comfortable with conflict. And so he's telling this story about this CEO who signs up for Predictive Index and brings in a few of his employees. So he and his employees are sitting at these tables and they're looking at their own scores. And as with many CEOs, his dominance is like off the charts, very common. And so the instructor's talking about how comfortable somebody high in the dominance scale is with conflict. And at one point he just starts to get this real grimace on his face, and then eventually while the instructor is speaking, this CEO takes his papers and he throws them on the table and says, "This is garbage." And so the instructor stops, and his employees, the CEO's employees, kind of shrink down in their seat like, they've seen this before. And the instructor says, "I'm sorry, I don't understand what the problem is." He says, "This says that I'm high on the dominance scale, and I've only been in 2 conflicts in my entire life." So, needless to say, everybody in the room realized this guy is very comfortable with conflict. And he's sitting there thinking there's no conflict at all. So the instructor digs a little deeper and come to find out that this CEO feels that he's only been in 2 conflicts his entire life, because there's only been 2 times that he's a argument has broken down into actual fist fighting with So that was his definition of conflict. So I'm listening to this and I'm thinking, okay, this is amazing stuff. This is really interesting how people interact, how people think. And that really touched on something that was near and dear to my heart, which is customer relationship management. So I'd like to share a little bit about that with you today. This is the agenda, and this is a bit wordy. But I'm going to talk about intrinsic motivation, personality, why getting people to adopt a CRM system in a traditional way is not necessarily always the best way, some positive characteristics about people who interact with the customer relationship management system, what works and what doesn't. We're going to have a little quiz at the end. But because I'm substituting today, some of you may not know exactly what a customer relationship management system is or does. So I just wanted to give you a really brief overview. Customer relationship management software its goal is to automate processes, allow for more reporting, and allow you to basically better manage the processes around how you interact with your customers. And there's really three main touch points that you try to tackle when you're dealing with interacting with your customers. One is sales, right? So you're trying to get new customers. The other is customer service. So when customers call into your call center or call a tech, need help with your product, that's a touch with your customer. And then marketing, and how do you reach customers or prospective customers through marketing. And what's interesting is that if you actually start to think through why or how to get people to use CRM systems, and that's one of the first things that I'm asked as an IT consulting firm that implements CRM systems, is, okay, we're going to do this, but our salespeople aren't going to use it. So what's the point? How do we get people to use it? And I'm asked that all the time. So that's what popped into my mind when I was thinking through this story about the CEO. So what are some ways that traditional adoption attempts fail of customer relationship management software? So here's one example. $50 gift card for the most cases closed in a day. So you go to a customer service group and you say, whoever closes the most cases today gets a $50 gift card. So when I'm done, I'm going to ask you if you guys can tell me why you think that's maybe not the best way to increase user adoption. Oh, this is a great one for sales. Management will have visibility into your work. You guys do so much stuff and you don't get credit for it. So you're going to get credit for it now because we're going to be able to see how hard of a worker you are. All right, salespeople around here that don't make 100 calls a week, you miss 2 weeks in a row, we're writing you up. That's a good one, I've heard that one before. And this is the famous one. It doesn't exist if it's not in CRM. We're not going to count it, we're not going to pay you commission, we're not going to reward you. It doesn't exist if it's not in CRM. So we'll circle back to this in a little while. We'll see if you guys can tell me some of the mistakes here. Intrinsic motivation matters. So people work to their style, and that's something that everybody inherently knows, but then somehow when we put reward and incentive plans together, we don't think about that. We think about the carrot and the stick. So one of the things that Daniel Pink talks about in the book Drive is that if you take money off the table, right, so if you massively underpay somebody, yes, they're going to be unhappy and they're going to quit. But if you pay them their market value and take money off the table, then motivate them intrinsically. The things that they enjoy doing, what is important to them, what matters to them and their personality, that's when you'll get the most benefit from them. It's not about just paying them more money. Go do this and I'll pay you more money. And I think we've probably all been in situations where we've thought to ourselves, okay, well, would I go do X for $100,000 a year? And you said, no way, there's no way I could do that. And so you realize that just inherently there are certain things that you want to do and certain things that you don't want to do. And no amount of money is going to necessarily fix that. So now let's add in, on top of intrinsic motivation, what motivates you based on your personality, let's add in the concept of gamification. Gamification is something that started with frequent flyer programs, but eventually worked its way into all of marketing. So all of mainstream marketing now has completely embraced this model of gamification. The whole point of gamification is a way to capitalize on people's motives. And what's amazing is people will actually do things that are contradictory to their best interests if you gamify certain things. So how's that done? We've all seen it. Badges, levels, points. You got to swipe your card at Kroger to get the discount, right? And that way they can send you coupons and all this stuff. There's all kinds of things that marketing companies are now doing to gamify. And obviously the reason it's called gamification is because it's like games. Any of us that have kids that play on the Wii or the PlayStation or whatever, my kids get mad at me because I joke with them about what a formula it is. Every new game, Lego Star Wars, and then this game, that game, it's always the exact same thing, but it's just now I get this level and this badge, Dad, and then when I get here, I'm going to have the Super Mega Ultra badge and this many points, and then I get this many points and I can unlock this room. Well, that's what they've figured out, that if you do that with people about buying products and services, it works. For example, airlines pretty quickly figured out that people would do things that was more counteractive, or counter to their best interests in order to get airline miles. And the quintessential example of this is mileage runs. people would actually get to close to their year renewal time, and they would be 800 miles from platinum. And so they would go on a mileage run. They would literally buy a plane ticket and fly somewhere and back that they didn't need to go because they wanted to be able to say they were at platinum level. And people would brag about it. Oh, I did a mileage run last week, and now I'm platinum, gold, whatever it is. So you can see why that kind of behavior where you can motivate people to actually part with their money and waste their time doing basically nothing because they're flying somewhere they didn't need to go and back. That's pretty powerful stuff. The other thing that's interesting that I want to point out is that you have to allow for resets, and I'm going to talk about this a little bit later. McDonald's had the Monopoly game, gamification, right? You come in, you buy certain products, you buy a Big Mac, you get a thing, and when you collect the 4 different railroads or whatever, the 3 railroads, you win a prize. What they figured out was they were having massive adoption of the game right at the very beginning of the game, and it would say it lasts 12 weeks. But then, starting about 3 weeks in, all of a sudden adoption would just drop off significantly because people figured out that, well, by this point, it's kind of halfway through the program, I'm probably never going to get those free railroads by the time I need to get it, so I just won't play. So they figured out, let's introduce mini games. So now, not only do you have an opportunity to get that railroad, but you have the opportunity to get a free small fry, or collect 2 of these things and you get $50. And so it allows for what's called a reset. It means new players can come in and still want to try to jump in and play because there's still opportunity for them to do something even though you may be in the middle of the game. Personality. So I'm going to highlight 3 different tests here. We've all heard of Myers-Briggs. And Myers-Briggs actually it looks like 4 criteria. It's actually 3. The first criteria is extroversion versus introversion, which is pretty self-explanatory. The next one, sensing versus intuition, is your perceiving functions. It's how you perceive information. Do you perceive information by sensing it, meaning you have to see it, feel it, touch it, analyze the data in order to understand it? Or is it by intuition, how you feel about it? The next is your judging function. It's how do you actually project out to people and judge situations around you? Is that through, again, thinking or feeling? Thinking is more data-oriented. Feeling is, my gut tells me this. The fourth one is actually a take on how people will see you. How do you present yourself? If your judgment, J, then you present yourself based on your judging function, whether you're thinking or feeling. If your last criteria comes back a P for perception, then that means what you present to the outside world is your perceiving function, the sensing or intuition. So if somebody is an S and an F, sensing and feeling, but then they are a P for perception, then that means they will display themselves to the world like they are about data, and they are about understanding the actual, what they're seeing in analysis. All right. To continue, I'm actually going to show you these next 2 at the same time because they are fairly parallel. DISC is dominance, influence, steadiness, and conscientiousness. The predictive index uses 4 letters, A, B, C, and D. The first one, they even use the same word, dominance. This is your desire to control a situation, your desire to exert your influence. The second one, extroversion, or DISC calls it influence. How much do you like being with people? How much do you like spending time with people? How much do you care about what people think about you? Next is steadiness or patience, and that's how comfortable are you with how long a situation takes? Do you like lots of change and variety? Do you want to get in and out of a situation quickly? Then you're probably low on the steadiness, low on the patience. If you like to see a project all the way through from the start to finish and understand every detail of it, then you're probably high on the patience level. And then fourthly is formality or conscientiousness. I want it done perfectly. That's what that person desires. Whereas somebody low on that scale is not as concerned about how well it's done. And so you can probably imagine that CEO would have been very high on the A, very dominant, and probably very low on the D, getting it done perfectly, because it's about my way when I'm a CEO. It's my way to do it, not necessarily the perfect way. One thing I want to note here is that the third one, okay, so when it comes to process, which is obviously near and dear to quality, often you're trying to introduce process to help with quality. Process is actually the third one, patience or steadiness. People who are very patient love process. They like to understand that certain things happen in a certain order. And so a lot of times people confuse that and think that that's related to D, formality, or being wanting things done perfectly. It's actually related to C, and I'll explain more about that in a little bit. So in CRM, there's these three different main groups or stakeholders. There's the salespeople who use the sales module, and it automates their processes about how do they make sales calls, and how do they follow up, and how many phone calls did they make, and tracking their emails that they're sending to prospects. With the customer service module, you're dealing with customer service reps. So it could be a call center where people are calling in. It could be a tech type situation where you have something that's broken and they call in and open a ticket, support ticket. And then the third group is marketing people. And how do you run a marketing campaign? How do you manage the campaign to send out brochures, to send out emails, to process events and handle events? So I want to look at some positive characteristics of a sales rep, a customer service rep, and a marketing rep, and talk about why they're so different, how they're so different, and then what we can do to motivate them to use a system like CRM. So the first thing, positive sales rep characteristics. What is the most important thing to a sales rep? Winning. Sales reps are highly dominant people. They want to win. So let's take a look at some of those characteristics. Sales reps are competitive. If I told you you needed to go hire a sales rep and you put together a job description, we're going to walk through some of the things that would be on this job description. Some written, some unwritten. Competitive. Who wants a sales rep that's not competitive? Success motivated. Assertive, absolutely. Aggressive, maybe, yeah, we're going to close the deal. Independent, sure. Accepts challenges, absolutely. Takes immediate action, likes immediate results. That sounds like a good sales rep. Control of audience. It's that sales rep's job to control a situation and bring that to a close and win the business. So you want them to control their audience. Does that make them controlling? Maybe, right? How about argumentative? Well, no. Nobody wants an argumentative sales rep, right? Except it's their job to not take no for an answer. Okay. Resourceful? Definitely. Individualistic? Yeah, I want them to just go out and make calls and visit clients. Definitely individualistic. Innovative, thinking about new ways to win business. Impatient? Well, no. Nobody wants an impatient sales rep. Nobody wants anybody that's impatient. Well, I want you to close more deals faster, so absolutely I want you to be impatient if I'm hiring a sales rep. Intense, restless, driving, fast-paced, dominant, self-confident, frank, direct, adaptable, flexible, obstinate. Again, it's their job to not take no for an answer. Now, I'm not saying with any of these that you should be expecting a salesperson to be insubordinate to their manager or anything like that, right? But in their underlying personality, there should be a sense of obstinacy because their goal is to move mountains, to not take no for an answer, to find another way to satisfy that customer. So that could make them be perceived as difficult, certainly impatient, sense of urgency. Disorganized. Why would we want a disorganized sales rep? Oh, sorry boss, can't make my Friday afternoon calls. I've got to organize my desk. No. I want you to absolutely be disorganized because I want you to move. I want you to be as organized as you have to be to get your job done. But that doesn't mean I want you to naturally be an extremely organized person if you're going to be in the sales business. Non-conforming, uninhibited, challenging, outgoing, optimistic, enthusiastic, magnetic, persuasive. Persuasive is interesting. I'll talk more about that in a little bit. Salespeople use different tools to persuade than other people. We'll talk about that. Stimulating, talkative. Sales reps should be talkative, right? Informal, undisciplined, gregarious, and extroverted. Of course, a sales rep should be extroverted. We're going to talk a little bit about extroversion and what actually motivates extroversion. So while this list may seem like there are some words on here that seem questionable, I think if you think through it, you'll come to the conclusion that, take the opposite of whatever that word is that you're questioning and say, do I want that sales rep? And the answer is probably no. So let's talk about customer service. Customer service, you want to be patient. Well, we just talked about how a sales rep needs to be impatient. Why do you want a customer service rep to be patient? They're receiving a call, they're talking to a customer who may or may not understand the product, understand what they're doing, and this person's job is to sit and listen and calmly walk through how to solve the situation or find the right part number to place, take the order, whatever it is. So a lot of patience. That's pretty different than a sales rep. Stable, calm, deliberate. Their goal is to solve your problem. So they have to be calm and deliberate to meet that goal. Consistent, steady, methodical, systematic. Sounds completely different than a sales rep so far. They have to go to the knowledge base article that says you have to press this button and then ask the customer to change this and then have the customer see whether it's done this or not yet. And then when the customer can't explain whether it's been done or not yet, well, I see this red button, I'm asking you if this button's over here. Think about all the patience, think about all the care, how systematic they have to be. Habitual, right? It's their job to come in and sit at a phone desk, possibly through a call center, answer the phone every day, go to the same system, look in the same knowledge base. Very habitual. Agreeable and cooperative and a peacemaker and deferential. Think about how many terrible customer service experiences we've heard about where a customer service rep starts telling off a customer. Right? We don't want that. So deferential, peacemaker, meek, accepting, tactful, mild, unselfish, serious, task-oriented, process-oriented, analytical, reflective, self-conscious, sincere, diligent, detail-oriented, precise. You're starting to get a sense for why motivating customer service reps might be a completely different thing than motivating sales reps. And yet how many businesses have just said, we're going to fix user adoption of CRM by implementing the following things. Probably not wise. Organized, self-disciplined, predictable, conservative, careful, accurate, thorough, exacting, respectful, and extroverted, which we're going to talk about in a little bit. Customer service reps need to be extroverted, right? Just like sales reps. Their job is to answer the phone all day, every day. Of course they have to be extroverted. Maybe. Now let's look at marketing. Marketing is a little bit different yet. It's actually a mix of customer service characteristics and sales characteristics. So let's talk about that for a minute. Agreeable, cooperative, and accommodating, a peacemaker. Now, why are they not driving and argumentative and assertive like a sales rep? Well, think about who is their customer. Their customer, their prospect is invisible to them. They have to envision this mass of people who are going to see their marketing material and interact with it and hope that that mass of people likes their product. Completely different than when you're in a situation across the table from somebody and you're trying to close a deal. So they have to be much more patient, agreeable, less assertive because they have this much longer process thing and they have people that aren't sitting across the table from them that they can try to command and control. Now, they're very enthusiastic, magnetic, warm, optimistic because their goal is to connect with you. For a salesperson, they're trying to win your business. A marketing person is trying to connect with you at a product level. You'll never know the name of Mary Smith, the head of marketing, but so they want you to know, I love that product at ABC Company. Talkative, persuasive in a different way, right? Through media. Stimulating, gregarious, patient, stable, calm, deliberate, consistent, steady. Now we've all of a sudden we've mixed in some sales type things, talkative, persuasive, stimulating. And then you've got components though that sound like customer service, deliberate, consistent, steady, methodical. Think about Geico. How long have the cavemen been around? Do you think that the person who's in charge of the caveman campaign for Geico is a patient person or a person who just loves change and variety? Probably very patient, because they're willing to watch a campaign years and years and do market studies and just change one little tiny aspect of that campaign and then see how it market tests. I mean, you think a salesperson would enjoy that job? Absolutely not. They want to get out to the next client. So they've got some aspects of it that are very customer service-like. Unhurried and well-coordinated and systematic. Careful and thorough. Extroverted. Right? A marketing person has to be extroverted. They're trying to market a product. Okay, extroversion. I call it the misunderstood outflow. Extroversion is actually an outflow of other characteristics of the person. So it's not just this person's extroverted or this person is not extroverted. For sales, it's about domination. I need to be extroverted because I'm going to win you over to win this deal. For service, it's about clarification. I need to be extroverted because I need to ask you, oh, what button did you press? Oh, did you try opening that thing? Oh, what part number are you looking for? You know, I'm going to help you find that. You're clarifying, and so you're extroverted because you need to clarify. And for marketing, those are truly the relational people. Because they're trying to connect with you and get you to connect with their product, service, or company, they want to relate. So it's three completely different reasons why they're extroverted. And so I'm going to give you an example to try to highlight this. Imagine you've got a salesperson, a customer service person, and a marketing person at a PTA meeting. This is not work related. They're at a PTA meeting. The salesperson, is that person going to be really extroverted and bubbly and work in the room? Probably not, because they're not trying to win any business. These are not prospects. These are just, friends or whatever. The service person, in the same way, they're not trying to clarify a problem. They're not trying to understand how to solve your situation. They're not trying to understand what knowledge-based article this situation could apply to. So, no. The marketing person is the person that loves to connect. The marketing person is going to be the person at the PTA meeting who's bubbly and walking around, working the room, talking to everybody, even though there's nothing to win or do. Another example. I have a person that I work with who is very high on the A, dominance scale. And I think of him as being very extroverted. And so we got back his predictive index, and it said that he was not extroverted. And so I pulled him aside and I said, I think these results are just wrong. I mean, you're one of the most extroverted people I know. And yet it shows here that you're high dominance but low on the extroversion. What's that about? And he said, no, I don't think that's wrong at all. I've learned that to be a good consultant and to win at consulting, I have to be very extroverted. I have to walk up to clients and shake their hand and lead workshops and lead business analysis discussions. So in order for me to win, I have to be extroverted. But when I go home at night, I'm drained. And the way I recharge is I put on my headphones and I just listen to music for an hour. Now, somebody who's truly extroverted, that sounds like myself. That sounds like a nightmare to just put on headphones and listen to music for an hour straight and not talk to anybody. So there's a perfect example of where he was using extroversion to win at his job, but it wasn't his actual natural bent. A couple of other noteworthy differences. Several of these said persuasive. In fact, I think all three of them said persuasive. A salesperson is trying to persuade using different tools than a marketing person or a customer service person. The salesperson is using the trial close, they're using yes questions, alternatives, all the different sales techniques to try to persuade you. A marketing person is persuading you using empathy. They want you to empathize with their company, with their product. They want you to see the benefit. They run the ad with the long distance commercial, and daughter calls home from college, and everybody's tearing up. That's how a marketing person persuades, through empathy. And then a service person, a customer service person, persuades by building trust. They need to quickly build a sense of trust or rapport, like, I can solve your problem. Oh, Mr. Customer, I'm so glad that you called about that because I've dealt with this 15 times before, and I'm going to pull up the correct knowledge base article, and I'm going to explain to you exactly how to fix this. That's a very persuasive thing to say, but it's persuasive because you're credentializing yourself as opposed to through the way a sales or a marketing person would do it. And then there's talkative and simulating. We said that about all three of them. A customer service rep has to answer the phone all day. Of course they're talkative. Sales, same way. Marketing, same way. But it's for different reasons. Sales is selective about how talkative they are. If a salesperson figures out that the client likes to talk, then he or she is going to be quiet. because ultimately, it's not about being talkative, it's about winning the deal. A service person is going to actually minimize their talking. They're going to be engaging, but they're going to say, oh, what seems to be the problem? And then they're going to stop talking and listen. They need to understand the problem in order to solve it. And then a marketing person is trying to connect. So they're going to be talkative because they're trying to relate. They're the true extrovert. All right, for the sake of time, I'm not going to talk about, actually, for the sake of the audience, I'm not going to talk about the technical implementation of how you would go into a CRM system and actually implement badges. But I am going to talk about a little bit about gamification and badges and how you can encourage people. So let's talk about what works for salespeople and what doesn't work for salespeople. The number one thing that we all think about is absolutely true. You've got to have a reserved parking spot for your top salesperson. That is huge. You want to motivate a salesperson? Tell them that if they're the top seller that month, they're going to have their own reserved parking spot. All right, so when you're rewarding or providing incentives to a salesperson, you want your language around those incentives to be about winning, like we discussed, about you're the top X, best in your field, and you're better than so-and-so. Hopefully that makes sense now, why that would be very important to a salesperson to find out that, Mary, you're better than John at this selling this stuff. And Mary's going to go, yep, you better believe I am. Public individual recognition. Hey everybody, I just want to announce Mary won Top Salesperson Award this month. Here it is, Mary. Everybody claps. Because when you think about it, salespeople are very competitive. And so when Mary wins Top Salesperson Award, John sitting next to her isn't saying, oh boy, I just failed. No, he's saying, oh, you better believe you got that for 1 month and 1 month only, because I'm going to take you down. Territorial ownership. Using language around territorial ownership is huge for a sales rep. They want to dominate. And so I want to use a couple of examples. One is when I was CIO of a software company, I had a salesperson come to me. And this speaks to territorial ownership. And he came to me, he said, Ryan, I wanted to let you know that I opened a support ticket, and Rob, the sysadmin, it took him 3 hours to respond to me and get my computer working. And I said, oh, I'm really sorry to hear that. We had some major network issues and stuff going on this morning. I'm sorry it took 3 hours. Was he able to get your problem resolved, though? And the salesperson said, yeah, he solved my problem, but I was just thinking this is a good coaching opportunity for you, Ryan, to coach up Rob, because, I'm busy out there every day paying Rob's paycheck. And so it might be good to remind him of that and the fact that, he really needs to get my computer working faster. I, of course, loved that and thanked him for the coaching opportunity. And we got a great laugh out of that, me and Rob. But there's a perfect example where that sales rep, territorial ownership, I run this company, I'm paying the IT department's salary, this is my place. So if you want to motivate somebody like that, take that into account, right? Of course, some of these are bad examples, and a lot of this is hyperbole to make the point. We all understand that. But here's another example from football. So the wide receiver's job in a football game is to go run out really far as he can, and catch the ball when it's passed. But let's think about a running back. A running back's job is for the quarterback to take the ball, hand it to him. He then stares at a group of huge guys that want to destroy him, and immediately starts running straight into that crowd and smashing into them to try to smash through it. Do you think a running back is high patience? Do you think he is high perfectionism, sits back and, well, if I take that route, and maybe if I go that route, then probably, let me calculate the probability that I'll make it to there? Or do you think he's extremely low patience and extremely high dominance? His job is to crush through those other people. Very competitive. So a couple weeks ago, I'm watching the Colts-Jacksonville game. And several plays happen in a row. They're all running plays. Donald Brown takes the ball, mashes through the defensive line, and makes it, 10 yards, like 2 or 3 times in a row. Gets a bunch of yardage. So he comes out, and he's tired. In comes our new guy, Trent Richardson. And the new guy goes out there and same thing, grabs the ball, smashes through the defensive line and gets another like 12 yards. And the commentator said this, and I quote, "This is why coaches have gone to a committee of running backs. They don't want to come off the field without more yards than the last guy just got." So there's your territorial ownership. Richardson has no problem with Donald Brown getting yardage, but he's going to go out and try to beat it. He's going to go out and do a better job. So that means that leaderboards are often a very good thing for sales reps. You put up a leaderboard in your office that says Nancy is kicking it and outselling everybody else, and that's very motivational to other people on the team because they want to unseat Nancy. Let's talk a little bit about some badges that you could award. And you can award badges systematically, or for the case of this, you can just think about it as a poster on the wall if you want. The initiator, most calls made. Salesperson's out initiating, give them a badge. Do it weekly though. Most calls made in a week. The tracker, most emails tracked. You want to do something like that daily, because if you think about it, 3 days in, somebody tracks 1,000 emails. It goes back to that reset concept, right? You got to be able to have a new player join in and still be able to think that they could possibly win. So for something like an email tracking badge, then you're going to want to do that with a reset daily. The workaholic badge, most tasks completed in a month, let's say. Tasks could be writing proposals, it could be anything that your company defines as a task in CRM. Then there's my favorite.
In your face!
The in your face badge, most face-to-face appointments in a week. And I would suggest that this would really work. If you took a cardboard cutout of the sales rep who made the most calls in a week, and you set it in the sales area, and you say, this person has the in your face award this week, and so he owns the sales area for this week. Very motivational to the other sales reps, because they want to own the sales area the next week. And just in case you think I'm being sexist, there's of course a female version too. So where do you put these things? Where do you put these badges? How do you promote this concept? Well, there's the sales dashboard in your CRM system. You could take your CRM dashboard and you could throw it up in the corner. You could customize it to actually have the system automatically award badges based on emails tracked, phone calls made, appointments held, that kind of thing, and put it up there. That's a great place to put it. Then there's public within the company, like on the intranet. You could have a dashboard on the intranet that shows who's winning, who has what badges. A display monitor in a public place, in a hallway or outside the sales area. This is who's winning at this. This is who's got the most sales. This is who made the most calls, that kind of thing. Now let's talk about customer service. Customer service is completely different than sales. Their personalities are different, like we discussed. So the last thing you want to do is put the exact same types of things in effect for customer service that you have for sales. This is the customer service reserve lot. Remember, they're methodical, they're patient, and so the last thing you want to do is park next to the sales guy who's going to ding their door. I managed a customer service department for 5 years. It was downtown. We had a lot that wasn't dedicated to our company, but a lot where we helped defer the cost for all of our employees to park in. And you better believe the customer service group always parked together at the back of the lot so that their cars wouldn't get dinged and messed up. They wanted, so for customer service, you give them their own little reserve lot. What works and what doesn't? Focus on quality instead of quantity. If you did that same concept of most calls in a week to a customer service rep, they're going to say, well, this company doesn't care about quality. This company is just all about us just opening and closing cases. Think about highest rated knowledge base articles, not just the number of articles. You start rewarding the person who creates the most articles, knowledge base articles, and everybody's going to look down on that person and say, oh, yeah, Jim won the award for creating those knowledge base articles because they're garbage. So think about highest rated knowledge base articles as opposed to the number of articles. And think about having a review board that actually reviews knowledge base articles that your customer service group creates and actually rates them. Even better, maybe one of the awards you could give out is a position on the knowledge base review board. That would speak highly into a person that is all about quality and that kind of thing. You do not want a leaderboard like sales. So you've got all these people that are peacemakers, they care about each other, they're team-oriented, and so you highlight that Jim closed the most cases or had the most quality cases, and right in front of everybody, Jim, you're the best customer service rep we have. All the other customer service reps, I'm a failure. So don't do that. Don't individualize it. Make it team-based. And lastly, survey your customers and you will win the respect of your team. If it's all about how many cases they opened or how many knowledge base articles they created, they will think you don't care at all about quality or customer satisfaction. You survey their customers. In fact, that's the number one defense. If you talk to a customer service rep and you say, you know, you're only closing 18 cases a day and everybody else is closing 25, their number one defense, first thing they're going to say, my customers love me. You go talk to my customers right now, and you don't dare write me up because my customers love me. And it's true. It's absolutely true. So you've got to figure out how to survey your customers and reward based on that as opposed to just quantities of things that they're completing. Perfect example of the team orientation. When I was managing customer service, I had a customer service manager who was over the team, and she came to me and said, Ryan, I don't know what to do. I've got this customer service rep, and she just shows up late all the time. And it was a call center, so the phones go live at 8. And so nobody's here to answer the phones. And I said, well, I get that she's not here to answer the phones. I don't understand why nobody's here to answer the phones if she's late. Well, because we all stand out in the parking lot and wait for each other so we can all walk in together. You know, park 3 blocks away. Oh, okay. Well, of course, me being just a manager, I just said, well, I also have your problem for you right now. Just stop waiting for her and come in. You know, problem solved. Now she's late. If she does it 3 times, let her know you're going to write her up. Right? I just took it all, no big deal. So later, problem solved a couple weeks later, and I said, hey, everything seems fine now. What happened? You must have done what I did and started coming in without her, and told her you'd write her up if she was late. And she said, no, I thought about it some more, Ryan, and I decided I would just tell her that if she's late, we're just not going to wait for her anymore. Next day, she showed up on time. So they wanted to walk in together, and it was enough punishment, the thought that if I show up late, I'm going to just be here, and they're already going to be at work, and I'm going to have to walk 3 blocks by myself. That was punishment enough. She just started coming in on time. So here I was thinking we're going to write people up and do all this stuff. And here, you know, if I had thought through this team aspect of how team-oriented customer service people are, then that, you know, that makes obvious sense. So what are some good badges that you can implement for customer service people? There's the Craftsman badge, highest rated knowledge base articles. You could do that, say, quarterly, and give out a rating and say, this is the Craftsman. The top quality badge for the highest rated on customer surveys. You could do that once a month. Now, where should this be? Work area specific. This is not about broadcasting to the whole company, because remember, these people are team players. They're more introverted. They talk. They're extroverted in the sense that they're trying to get it out of you what they need to solve, but that's not their natural bent. And so you don't want to shame them. Do things that are team-based. Service Group A contains the most craftsmen this quarter. Make it team-based. Customer service people do not want to be seen as show-offs. They're craftsmen. They don't want to be rewarded at someone else's expense. They want to be rewarded just recognized for their quality. Marketing. All right, so you've seen the customer service lot. You've seen the salesperson's spot. Here's the marketing area. Marketing are the true extroverts. They're the true connectors. They're the relationship builders because they're trying to get you to build a relationship with their product, service, or company. And so this is the marketing group. They're having a great time. What works? Help them see start to finish. If you're using a CRM system, use closed loop marketing. which means they can actually enter in the costs of the campaign. They can track that all the way through to the sales, and as the salespeople close deals, it gets associated back to that marketing campaign if it was as a result of it, and allows them to ultimately see at the end of the process that their marketing campaign made money. Remember, they're patient, they're methodical, they want to do A/B testing, they want to do focus groups, all those things that salespeople don't like, marketing people love. And so let them do that. Don't try to do a one-size-fits-all and say, we're going to reward marketing people the same way we do salespeople. This is what that would look like in Microsoft Dynamics CRM. I apologize, it's a bit washed out. But the idea is you can enter all your costs, you can then go back and track your activities, and then you can even watch your how you're using your budget for your marketing campaign and whether it's resulting in sales. Don't rush them. In Microsoft Dynamics CRM, which is the product that we implement and customize, there's a concept called a quick campaign. And so for those of you that don't use that product, this might not make as much sense, but the concept of a quick campaign is it allows you to not build out all of the data around budget and all that stuff, and it allows you to just send out a mass email. But what I always say is quick campaign is not a marketing concept, it's a dynamic CRM concept. You would never want to actually tell a marketing group, not that this has ever been done before, but you would never want to tell a marketing group, hey, I had this great idea for a mass email that needs to go out this afternoon. That is not working to their style. They need time to plan it, plan out the marketing content, believe in it, because once it's out, and they know that. A salesperson can say something maybe they shouldn't have said or whatever, and they just slough it off and correct it or make up for it right there in the conversation. A marketing person, once it's out there, it's out there. So it's really important to them that it be right and that you not rush it. Group events, like a party for hitting a sales amount for a campaign. You take a sales team out for having a winning quarter. Remember that sales leaderboard with Nancy with having the most sales? You take that sales team out to dinner and talk about how great sales are, and the whole time Nancy's gonna be thinking about, I can't believe I'm paying for all these people to have dinner when I'm the one who's running the show here. I'm the one who's outselling everybody. But the marketing group, you take them out because again, it's not their name associated with this stuff, it's the company's name. And so they put out these big marketing campaigns. So take them out and say your marketing campaign was so successful, it connected with people. And because of that, the salespeople were able to go out and close all kinds of deals. They'll eat it up, they'll love it. So for marketing, badges could be something like the highest buzz campaigns, which you can use social sentiment monitoring tools now to try to gather how much buzz is going on around a campaign. That's the Buzzy Bee badge. There's the most beloved badge with the highest positive response rate, and you can do something like that monthly. Where does that go? Public. Remember, marketing people are the ones who are relational. And so put something in the lobby so that your customers can come in and see something that the marketing group did well, or the company website. It should be department-based, not team or individual-based. So congratulations to the marketing department for earning the highest number of Buzzy Bee badges in company history this quarter. That will really speak to them and really motivate them intrinsically. Okay, so now we're ready for our quiz. $50 gift card for the most cases closed in a day. Why is that a bad idea? Demotivating.
Drives the wrong behavior.
Drives the wrong behavior. Yep, they're going to open and close cases faster maybe than is good customer satisfaction. And their first thought is, this company doesn't care about quality. It's just about getting the case closed. Management will have visibility into your work. That's often said to salespeople. You're going to finally get credit for all those calls you make.
They don't care.
They don't care, and they're all about territorial ownership. So Big Brother is watching? Absolutely not. I know how to sell. You let me go out and sell. So I do not recommend that you explain that as a key reason to implement CRM to your sales team. The stick, I'm going to write you up if you don't make 100 calls 2 weeks in a row. Demotivational. Remember, they're comfortable with conflict. It's their job to take no, not take no for an answer, so they can be obstinate, right? That's what that word means. So they're going to say, okay, well, okay, let's see how many times you write me up. And, you know, since I pay everybody's paycheck, you can write me up all you want. I know I'm not going anywhere. And then if it doesn't exist, it's not in CRM. Or sorry, if it's not in CRM, it doesn't exist. Again, that spans, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Removes resourcefulness.
Removes resourcefulness, yep. And it spans all three groups, right? A salesperson, you better not think you're going to tell me that it doesn't exist. Oh, I'm going to go sell $2 million worth of stuff and you're not going to acknowledge it because I didn't enter it in CRM? Yeah, right. Customer service, marketing, if it doesn't exist, if it's not in CRM, I mean, it's like I'm doing all this work for you, and yet because I didn't click a couple buttons, it speaks to making people just implement a process just for the sake of implementing a process is what it basically tells everyone. All right, for the sake of time, I'm going to skip management style warnings, but there is the adage that you should never make your best salesperson your sales manager is actually true for customer service and marketing. Never make your best customer service person your manager. Never make your best marketing person your marketing manager. So anybody that wants to talk to me about that afterwards, you can tell I love talking about this stuff. Okay, things to consider related to quality, and that'll be done. First, when you're selling a quality initiative, whatever it is you're trying to do, whether you're implementing a CRM system so you can improve quality in your call center, or whether it's a lean process improvement, whatever it is that you're trying to do, just remember, you care about quality more than most people. And the reason I say that is because you were attracted to a quality-related position because you have characteristics that care about quality. Probably detail-oriented, probably higher patience than a lot. And so process improvement, implementing process, is something that you love. So I'm not saying this to speak negatively about all the people that you interact with. I'm saying it just because it's just a fact of life, that not everyone will care about quality as much as you do. So knowing that, when you go into the conversation, might help you to not be so frustrated with somebody who refuses to see why this is such a great initiative. When you're implementing, show the right progress to the right people. Keep in mind that if you go to the CEO or somebody who's very low patience, very high dominance, and you say, well, we're a third of the way through, and our quality initiative is going great because we're able to get everybody involved in the process and hear everyone's point of view and really work out how these processes should be. That person's going to sit there and say, how much of my money are you going to waste on this? Right? So, showing that person, boy, we're a third of the way through the project, and you're never going to believe how much higher quality our product's going to be, and so we are going to just be grabbing market share like crazy. Well, that highly dominant person is going to say, you're helping me win. That's awesome. But then, if you're talking same project, third of the way through, and you're talking to the people that are in the middle of implementing the quality process, that love quality, that are higher patience, higher formality, you're not going to say, boy, you're never going to believe how much market share we're going to get because of this. That's not speaking to them. You say, isn't this amazing how we're getting everybody involved in the process? And the company's listening to everyone as we define these new processes. So show the right progress to the right people during the implementation process. And then with adoption, new systems or processes are implemented to improve quality, but they must be adopted. So just thinking about the people that will be using your new systems or processes and what will motivate them to use them will help you, because it's not a one-size-fits-all. You don't just explain what's important to you about this quality initiative and assume that absolutely everyone will feel that same sense of importance for them. All right, I have a slide here with some references where I've kind of drawn some of this material from. Game-based marketing, which was later kind of coined gamification. That was the book that kind of started it all and took frequent flyer programs from that into the whole mainstream of marketing. And this is me. Thank you very much.